Good morning and welcome to a slightly later edition this week of the Biz Breakfast. We thought we'd come together to talk about the fact that lots of businesses will be talking and taking steps towards bringing their workforce back into the workplace this week. And so I'm joined by Neil from FBC Manby Bowdler, very usual face. Morning, Neil.
Morning.
I'm joined by Kevin from Paycare.
Morning, Charlotte.
Morning. And Sunil, who's here, and we'll just do a quick introduction because Sunil, you work in the area of mental health.
Yes, absolutely.
So from your perspective then, given that this is going out to businesses, what can businesses do to make this transition from a remote working to a partial or full back into the office working easier for its staff?
Thank you. Thank you so much indeed, Charlotte. Yes, my name is Sunil Naphray and I'm a transformation coach. So I help and support individuals with issues to do with their lives, work or businesses. And basically, I'm just going to talk a little bit about how employers can actually support their staff in terms of facilitating an effective and a managed return to work. I think it's really important to understand the full significance of the pandemic and the fallout of the pandemic and what lockdown has meant for everybody, for businesses, for the individuals who work within the workplace. And essentially, one of the things there are a few things that we need to have a very good understanding of. First of all, in terms of the impact of self-isolation and quarantining. And this undoubtedly would have affected everyone's mental health in some shape or form. When I talk about mental health, we're talking about one's own psychological well-being, if it has been impacted by particular external events. And obviously, we've had one of the biggest events that have actually happened in our world history, which has affected everyone in many, many different ways. So therefore, what this means essentially is that we're going to have to really think about what expectations that we have of ourselves as employers and also of our staff as well. And coupled with that, the government have very recently introduced guidelines to actually help and support workplaces for them to be able to make sure that their working environments are safe, working within specific guidelines, in terms of social distancing, in terms of use of PPE, etc. And so it's really, really important that we understand those expectations, because I know ultimately the employers would obviously want their employees to come back to work and obviously work towards optimal performance, but that may well take some time. And I think it's very important that mental health, I mean, people will say there are many things that have actually kind of arisen from this pandemic. We won't know the full story yet because we're still going through it. But I think with regards to the workplace, it's really important to understand that mental health does need to be an absolute priority in terms of the actual HR function within the workplace, as I mentioned before, in terms of expectations, because when you really think about the impact of quarantining and you know, self-isolation, if we think of ourselves in our own situation, how we felt 8 weeks ago when the government announced the actual lockdown, there are going to be a wide range of feelings, including fear, anger, sadness, irritability, guilt, or confusion. And some people may have actually had lots of sleep problems. So it's really important that anybody, in terms of who's in a position of a leader or a manager working with the HR function, that they just need to be aware and to monitor their employees and to make sure that they actually are also adjusting their expectations. So, for example, it may well be that some of them may need to have a partial arrangement where they do come into work into the workplace on a phased basis.
Some sort of flexi time.
Yes, and some flexi time. And maybe because people have got used to a remote way of working, and it has been a revelation for lots of people that think, well, I never knew I could work effectively at home, and you know,
it's going to take some adjustment to come back the other side, isn't it? Yeah, absolutely. And I think that expectations point is a really good one, because you can't just bring everybody back and expect them to work at full capacity from day one. So Neil, how is FBC Manby Bowdler managing that transition? Because we are trying this week to reopen. We've got all of the gear in place. What steps have we taken?
All the gear.
Yeah.
So we've been working so probably for the last month in terms of getting the offices open, which they did on Monday. So they're now open for clients for appointments, and we've encouraged and welcomed some of our staff back. You're right, and then put in all the appropriate measures, so desk planning systems and whatever, so that we've got social distances. We fortunately, I suppose, because we do take mental health very seriously, and obviously the legal profession is well known for being a very high pressure environment to work in. So we actually doubled our mental health first aiders just before lockdown. So just making sure everybody knows who's there, that we're there for them. I think we've done a good job in terms of trying to keep that team cohesion throughout lockdown, and making sure that one-to-ones happen. I've carried on communicating to everybody. With the furloughed staff have still got access to all their systems, so they can still see the intranet. But as Sunil says, it's this week's the start of coming back. And we've got some people that can't wait to get back, and we've got some people that want to transition back over a couple of weeks, and that's okay. That's what we do.
It's about being flexible to how you manage another big change, isn't it?
Yeah.
How are Paycare managing it, Kevin? Because we heard from you guys towards the beginning of the lockdown, and some really positive things came out of that conversation around what you've been doing to support your staff. Now with the other end, what approach are you taking?
There's never been a better time to really know your people, because I think there might be a danger as businesses come out of this that they think a one-size-fits-all solution is the way to go, but you really need to know your individual people and what their needs are. So that's the approach that we're taking. We recognise that we've got people working from home. We are expecting them to work, to do the normal day job, to be parents, to be school teachers, and with all those challenges. So what we've always stressed to them is that you can't work as you did sitting at a desk from 8:30 till 4:30. So be kind to yourself. Don't beat yourself up. Don't measure yourself against other peers that you think are working longer than you. Just be kind. So when we do bring our people back in, and again, we're looking a couple of months, because what we've proven is that we can work from home. So what is the desire or need to bring them back into the workplace? Because one of the dangers of doing that is, we hear this term presenteeism. So they might be present at the workplace, but the mind's somewhere else. Now, how productive is that for a business? We can maintain service levels the way we're operating at the moment. Now, obviously, there's a need at some point to return and to have those face-to-face interactions, but really understand what the needs of the business are. Don't follow the pack.
Yeah, I think that's another really good point. So I think what we've heard this morning is be really clear about your expectations and adjust them to the individual. Be flexible in the way that you're working, and get to know your staff so that you can bring out their most optimum ability to perform at the moment under really, really continuing difficult circumstances. Yeah, I'm really grateful for all of your time this morning. I think we've covered some important points, and I hope you have a great rest of the day.
Thanks.
Take care.
Very much. Thank you.